So if you're really anxious to get your hands on the OnePlus 12, you don't want to wait for the global release, which is not far away at all, early next year, well, you can get the OnePlus 12 now. Import one in, but you're stuck with a firmware which is just in Chinese and English, but Google Play does work with this model. So it's got a lot of great things going for this. The OnePlus 12, in my time using it, I think is a fantastic model here and a definite improvement over the previous generations. Excellent build quality, it's got Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front of it. We have a 6.8-inch 120Hz Quad HD LTPO AMOLED screen. And OnePlus's claim is that this can get up to a crazy 4,500 nits maximum brightness, although I've not been able to achieve that myself. A 5,400 milliamp hour battery, and we've got Hasselblad branded cameras on the rear of it, so they have co-engineered that with OnePlus, and the cameras, as I'll show you later on, they're showing a lot of promise too. A front-facing camera, which is 32 megapixels, it does shoot 4K video, and it's all powered by the Snapdragon Gen 3, the latest and greatest. My model here has 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. At the time of recording this video here, it's not available global, it's just the Chinese model that you can get, and the price is very good. I won't quote it now because it's always changing. Link in the description of where you can get one of these if you're thinking about importing one in. But I bought it from Trading Shenzhen. You do get this here in the box, so we've got a bit of paperwork, but it's in Chinese, being, of course, the import version here, and a very nice OnePlus-styled TPU case. That is our, obviously, Type-C cable to Type-A, and it's in that OnePlus Red. And here's our charger, so nice and small, compact, yet it is 100 watts. And Trading Shenzhen did include this, which is a power supply adapter there for the 2-prong to the EU, and a pen. Now, I really like what OnePlus has done with this phone. I think it looks stunning. It's a really nice style to it. So we've got metal aluminium frame or alloy frame, aluminum all around the outside here, metal volume up and down, power button, and the way they've done the camera module, you can see the Hasselblad branding right there, so they've continued that partnership with them. But it looks really good. It looks like we've got separate little cameras, right, that would have that metal ring around them that stick out a bit, just kind of like that, but it's not. This is in fact a flush surface here, so it's very easy to clean this, and I think it looks nice. Very clean look to it with this white that I've got. I do like it with the white and the silver around the outside. So we still have the little alert slider switch, which I really like. You can just flick that into silent mode or back to normal. Makes things really easy. And it's only this phone really, I think, in the iPhone, doesn't it? They have that. Although the iPhone, of course, went over now to the button, the action button. And I like that they've kept this. Now we do have a curved display. So on the front here, it's Gorilla Glass Victus 2. On the back is just Gorilla Glass. It's good to see that it is a more shatter resistant glass there. And the curvature to it, okay, would have been nice if it was flat. Now, fingerprint reader location, well done, OnePlus. You didn't put it right down here like so many other brands are doing, like Vivo with the X100 Pro I've just covered here, and it works really well. No problems with it. So we've got Color OS, and I do like Color OS. It's one of my favorites. Performance is very good, really well optimized. So 120 Hertz here with the screen. It's LTPO AMOLED, and it supports HDR10+, and they do claim that this can peak at a whopping crazy 4,500 nits. Of course, I've not been able to measure that. I believe it's a little bit of marketing hype, and you have to play like HDR video in a window or something like this to get that magical brightness that I can't measure. So when I measure this screen here, I get nowhere near that result there, and I do find the screen and everything to be very good with the phone. The brightness too, great, but what I measure is just under 1300 nits with the display. That's all I can get it to with the auto mode. I put a bright light under it and measure it and everything like that out in the sun. So in direct sunlight, it does look really good, holds up well, but it's definitely not 4,500 nits, no way. I think that's just marketing, and maybe someone out there can actually achieve that, get that result, but I've got no idea how to measure that, but it doesn't really matter. Now, I've forced the screen resolution onto Quad HD. I mean, that is what you're paying for. You might as well use it unless you need to save on battery, and they even do say that. But it is by default on the 1080p or Full HD Plus resolution, which is a little odd. And does the performance vary if you have it on that? I don't really see any difference. It doesn't seem faster, the UI with Full HD Plus, than it does using Quad HD here. So I keep it on that. Of course, you can go and change that to whatever you want. and I force the screen resolution, refresh rate, sorry, to high. Now you can set it to auto, standard 60 for saving on the battery, but 90 Hertz option, no, it's not in there. So you can set an app specific one, but there's no 90 Hertz option. Gestures are working really well, which is good. The bezels look quite slim. And here we do have a 32 megapixel front facing camera in this 6.82 inch display. So a good display, as I pointed out, 510 PPI, so it's really nice and sharp. Weight of the phone, okay, 220 grams, pretty standard now for the size of it, considering it's using the glass, the metal, the build materials and whatnot. It is good. So 9.2 millimeters is the thickness, and going back to those cameras there, just very quickly to point out, so main camera, that one is a 50 megapixel sensor. It's f1.6. We have a 64 megapixel zoom camera, so that is periscopic. That's 70 millimeters, so 3 times optical image stabilization with that. And ultra wide, that is 48 megapixels. It can shoot 8K, the main camera, but only at 24 frames per second. The front camera can do 4K 30. So build very good. Down the bottom, finally, we got our Type-C port that, yes, does support video out. So they got all of the features there. It's USB 3.2 spec. This takes 2 micro SIMs, nano SIMs, sorry, there. Antenna lines, loudspeaker here, another loudspeaker at the top. And we've got a microphone here and the IR transmitter. So very good. I like what I'm seeing here. I think this is the nicest yet when it comes to the OnePlus phones. I am all for this build. When you see it and you hold it in person, it just feels like quality. Yet the price is a lot more competitive compared to what else is available out there for flagships, especially with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Just a couple more things with this screen. Well, the main key one is that it's very fluid and smooth, everything with the UI, and I don't see any flicker at all. Even if I lower the screen brightness right down, which I will do, so lower that down a bit, you're not going to see any shimmering or flicking. Now, I don't know the exact pulse width modulation rate with this, but I believe it's somewhere like 1900 or 2100 Hertz, because you just don't see any shimmering at all with the display, which is very good. So it is ColorOS, as I have mentioned there, and ColorOS, I do not mind it. I think it's actually quite a nice UI. Now, it is running Android 13 here, so we are on the latest, so you don't have to sit around and wait for an Android 14, updates. It's on 14 to start with, and it is on the latest firmware here at the moment. Now, the thing is, with the global version, it won't be ColorOS. It'll probably be Oxygen OS, okay? So there's some slight differences in there, but the optimization, the speed of everything is very similar. I've got 12 gigabytes of RAM here and 256 gigabytes of storage. So the base model, and you can add a little bit. There's here virtual memory there. They call it RAM expansion, and you can put that right up to 12 if you want to. It's just a caching there to help smooth up things, and really I think on 4 that is fine, and it's not extra actual RAM, of course. You know, those jokes that, oh, I just went and downloaded more RAM. Well, it's kind of like that, but no, of course it's not. It's an actual hardware RAM, and it is, you see there, 14, Android 14. I'm on the latest version here. There has been an update already for it, and I've encountered no bugs, which of course is great, and no problems. Very smooth. Multitasking is good. I notice it sometimes kills off background apps a little faster than I would like. So you have to go in here and remember that anything you want to keep and use, to make sure you go along and do lock that. So if you want to use a Netflix all the time, lock it, and then it's not going to be getting rid of that. So the 12 gigabytes of RAM for a base model, pretty standard here. Great to see that it's not 8 gigabytes of RAM as the base, but the 12. Now, this being, of course, an import version, you have to be very careful with your bands. Are you going to get 4G and 5G? Well, I'm lucky here in Spain with my carrier. You can see that there I do have 5G, reception's good. It's all working fine and at proper 5G speed, so at least as fast as I can get out of any of my other phones. So that's one thing to bear in mind, and you have to really make sure on that with any import phone, because the last thing you want to do is get a nice flash new phone and find out you're stuck on 3G, which is painful, terribly slow. The OnePlus 12 being the import version here runs ColorOS. And ColorOS, nothing wrong with it at all. It's maybe not quite as optimized as Oxygen OS, but I do like them both of them. And I think ColorOS is one of the top 3 when it comes to UIs for Android. Performance is very good, all running at 120 frames per second. Now, I have applied the latest firmware update that has come through for it, and it's ColorOS and it's version 14 based off Android 14. So it's good we don't have to wait for an Android 14 update, as we already do have it. Now, when you get the global version, it will be Oxygen OS and be based, of course, off Android 14.2 there. So Snapdragon Gen 3, I've got the 12 gigabytes of RAM. You can allocate even more of what they call RAM expansion, but this is virtual memory. It's set at 4 gigabytes by default. You can put it up to 12. Honestly, I don't really see why you'd want to do that. There's no need for that. 12 is enough. It runs really smooth as is, and it really is up to you, of course, if you want to do that. So 5,400 milliamp hour battery, and I'll show you the charge times and everything else. So the UI performance is very good. I've encountered no bugs with the UI, but I have encountered some problems with some of the applications I've tried to run on the phone that involves thermals and this getting hot and applications just simply crashing. But before I talk a little bit more about that, just wanted to point out that Trading Shenzhen has removed some of the Chinese bloatware for this. So if you buy one from them, they might do a little bit of a cleanup here, and they pre-installed Play Store for me on this unit, which you can do yourself. So you don't have to sideload it or anything like that. You can simply just use the browser, download the latest Play Store APK file, give it permissions once you've installed it, and you can log in. So Google Play is, of course, all working. That's all fine. No issues there. So there are a couple of bloatware applications. It's not actually too bad, but again, they have removed the Chinese stuff already for me. So this was really interesting, and I ran it a few times because I just didn't agree with this score, because we're looking at here with Antutu version 10, an Antutu score that is really the previous generation kind of score. So this is Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 performance, although this is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So something is wrong. What's happening? Well, it's being throttled very, very heavily. And a couple of times it even just did not want to finish running Antutu for me. But I managed to get it to work here. And yes, I did run this with the phone being cold, and I put it into the performance mode. You can see at the top there, just trying to get the best score possible. So very disappointing synthetic result here for a benchmark. And I proceeded then to, of course, test out the internal storage, which did not disappoint. So UFS 4.0, very quick there, really good speeds. And then the Wildlife Extreme Stress Test. So this is a looping benchmark that runs for 20 minutes, really pushes the GPU hard, simulating an extremely demanding game. So I ran into some big problems with this. It crashed on me many times. I could not get it to finish. The only reason it finished here, and I've got the result for you, is because I had to put it in my fridge. Yes, I had to cool the phone down to keep it running. Otherwise, it would get that hot, it would crash and just boot me out of this benchmark completely. Stability shows us that it has throttled down 40%, but I'm telling you now, in reality, it's throttling down about 50%. Not good at all. So it gets very hot. And you'll see for the thermals, started out at 23 degrees, but after about the 5-minute mark, I put it into the fridge just to keep it a little colder, and that's why it only got up to 34 degrees Celsius here. So this result here is not realistic. It should be about 47 degrees, the frame rate should be lower, the scores there should be lower, but that was the only way I could get this benchmark to run, so not good. It gets very hot and it will crash just in these synthetic benchmarks. Luckily with gaming, it hasn't done that to me yet, but it doesn't like being pushed hard, this phone, because they throttle it that much, OnePlus. So we've got a Widevine level 1 cert, and that means Netflix is in full HD, Amazon Prime Video, whatnot, and it does pass the safety net check. So for your banking applications, even though this is an import version, it will work. We've got NFC2 on board with it, so that is all good news. Just like this, full Camera 2 API level 3 support, which is good, and it means if you want to use, say, a Gcam port for the cameras or open camera, you can do so. So battery life, this is another test that I just could not get to finish on me, because I always use PCMark. I run that fixed looping benchmark for the battery life so you can gauge it against all the other phones I review and have reviewed for years. Failed. It kept crashing on me. This is about the 3rd time I tried to get it to work. So I'll show you the result here. So around about the 10-hour mark is what it got in Quad HD at 120 Hertz. Not bad, but of course, not a realistic result. In my time using it, testing it out, you're looking about 7.5, 7 hours standard, really. It's what I get out of most phones with this kind of capacity battery, and at 120 Hertz, Quad HD does take a toll. Now, if you put it into 1080p or Full HD Plus, and at 60 Hertz, I think you'll be able to get around 9-10 hours of screen on time out of it. A lot better. Charge time, well, 27 minutes with the included 100-watt charger. So good charging speed there for a 5,400 milliamp hour battery. Just ignore this, that is the typical capacity there. But it is rated and supposed to be 5,400 milliamp hours. Haptics with the OnePlus 12 is excellent. I really do like the little short pulses that it does give when you are typing. It's quite a reasonably powerful haptics motor, I think, and I'd rate this as one of the better haptics that I have felt recently out of all the recent flagships that I've been covering in the channel. Now, call quality, good, checks out, no problems. 5G reception, 4G has been fine, good, no issues there. GPS is also fine. Gets a really quick lock with Qualcomm, but limited to 3 meters. The accuracy, which is pretty standard for them. Just go over here into YouTube to give you a sample now of those loudspeakers. So it's the little 2 ports down here at the bottom, downwards firing, and then the one at the top. There's a little port there and where the earpiece is. So we've got the dual loudspeakers, very good volume to them. Mids, highs, they're all right, they check out, and there's a little bit of bass there too as well. So the sample I will play you is at 100% volume, just to give you an idea. Testing out then gaming performance. This is Genshin Impact, and I have it set to the highest possible setting, 60 frames per second. And the performance is fine. You will see that the gameplay is going to be about 60 frames per second the whole time, and it doesn't boot me out of the game like it did with the Wildlife Extreme Stress Test. It got far too hot with that test. It crashed, burned, well, not quite burned physically, but it was not good to see. But it doesn't happen with the games. Not that I'm defending OnePlus, but that was a synthetic benchmark, pushes it really hard. However, the performance we are getting in gaming is basically last gen. It's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 kind of levels, as was seen from the synthetic benchmarks. Until OnePlus addresses this, I believe that they need to just push those thermals higher, let it get a little hotter, increase that performance, and just let that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 just stretch its legs a little bit. Give us that performance that we're paying for. And I hope that they can address this. They've got a bit of time before the global release. Moving over to the cameras now with the OnePlus 12. So this is our front-facing camera, and it can shoot 4K 30 frames per second. The quality is alright, but what I've noticed is, especially it was obvious with my camera comparison, is that this 4K 30 frames per second quality, it almost looks like 1440p upscaled. Doesn't really seem like native 4K to me when I compare it to some other phones out there. Now, the quality is okay, but I do believe there's room for improvement with this, as I have noticed compared to other flagships. Panning around, I have noticed sometimes a few dropped frames. I think this is the key area where OnePlus can improve this phone with the 12 is the video quality. So I just zoom in a little bit now. That's the 1x camera. So this is optical image stabilization with the electronic, 4K 30 frames per second. You can shoot 4K 60 and also 8K, but only at 24 frames per second, not 30 unfortunately. And panning around, the stabilization is good, but it could be a little bit better. And I noticed this in my camera comparison. So I'll apply some zoom now. This is 2x digital, still using that main camera. You go to 3, you'll see it's transitioned and it has swapped over now to our 3x optical camera. I'm just walking ahead a little. The stabilization is quite good with this one, and this quality, not bad. There is a lot of detail here. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. This is now 4x and 5x, which is not looking as good now with so much digital zoom. Audio bitrate, well, this is 256 kilobits per second, and I'm now back to our 1x camera and the ultra wide. So one of the weaknesses of OnePlus for me was always their cameras. Well, the good news is they are improving. Some of the samples I took with my camera comparison were very good, I think. And what I was impressed with was their white balance. It tended to be more true to life, more correct than even the Vivo X100 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, but it did come in third place against those two phones. Still, I like what I'm seeing out of these cameras. Yes, there is some further optimization needed, but low light performance, general performance, what you're getting out of this basically affordable, more value flagship, I still think is good. But I would like to see some more tweaks coming from OnePlus, which hopefully when the global version is released will be finalized then, and we do get an improvement with the cameras. If you want to see more of what these cameras are really capable of, do check out that camera comparison against the Vivo X100 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. I think right here, OnePlus has a potential winner. A more affordable value flagship, you could almost say, with an excellent build quality, great screen, very fast storage, and a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that in its current state, yes, underperforms. It's being throttled so much that it will either crash in a benchmark that's very demanding, like Wildlife Extreme Stress Test, or simply just throttle down to Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 performance, which is just not on. You know, you're buying a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 phone, you don't expect it to perform like last year's. That's why I did a double take when I saw first the result of that 3D Mark or the the Antutu score and went, hang on, that's not right. Retested it quite a few times and it just kept coming out the same. So I'm sure that OnePlus, they're gonna fix that. They probably know of this. They're gonna do something about the throttling, make it not throttle so much. Hopefully they've got everything sorted out in time for, of course, the global release of this, the OnePlus 12, which is coming early next year. So around January, I believe it is, that it's going to be coming out, or maybe February shipping globally. I don't know the exact dates. I have no OnePlus contact. I mean, I bought this phone myself, but I do see them improving it definitely, and then we're going to have a fantastic phone. So it's just those things I pointed out: video quality, the throttling, and we really do have a winner on our hands there. I like this design. Of course, it's all subjective. A lot of people might say, oh, the camera module should be right in the middle. It should be centered. It's to one side. But I think it looks good, especially in this white color here. It is a quality phone, and I'm going to be watching this one closely because I think with some firmware updates, it could be one of the best for the price going into 2024 for your value flagship, more affordable flagship phones, that is.